I'm a feminist, but... Hello, Union Chapel! And I'm a feminist, but I'm thinking of starting a new far-right party. Hear me out. Hear me out. When I was campaigning for the Greens in Gorton and Denton, so you've heard, there were loads of people writing on our Instagram wall, we don't care if Reform lose because now we're going to vote for Restore. We're all about Restore now. And I thought, what if I started Renege? And then on the ballot, someone else started Refresh, Recunt. And the people are going, I don't know which one's mine. I've forgotten, Gloria. I've forgotten. No talking between families. That's coercion. Just a thought.
I'm a feminist, but... I'm a feminist, but I will only date men who are 6'1" or taller so that I can feel like a tiny sexual Polly Pocket.
I'm a feminist, but... I hired a makeup artist to make it look like I wasn't wearing any makeup when I was getting my passport picture done.
I'm a feminist, but... I've slept with men, mostly my boyfriend on the front row. Welcome to the show. I've never slept with a woman, yet. No, no.
The night's young, Zach. The night's young, Zach. The night's young. And now we've got one last one.
Hello, Guilty Feminist, and hello everyone here at Union Chapel. I'm so sorry I can't be with you tonight. I've been a bit busy because I started a new job on Monday. Absolutely unbelievable. And I want to say, of course, I am a feminist, but not when it comes to taking out the bins. No way. My feminism goes missing on bin day. But seriously, thank you so much to you, Deborah, and to everybody who supports and listens to The Guilty Feminist, because it's all of us together who achieved something absolutely massive last week. And I know that that achievement is built on the decades of so many women and so many people of marginalised genders who have just come together, worked together, struggled together, but stood side by side in solidarity to achieve what we've achieved. And this is just the start of it, because we've shown that anyone from any background can have a place here, and whatever it is that we're doing, however we're changing the world, we're doing it together. And I'm so, so proud of every single one of us, and I really hope to see you all very, very soon. Bye!
Hannah Spencer, everyone! And a big round of applause to Juno Dawson, Athena Kugblenu and Zach Palanski! People you will be seeing a lot more of during the show. Apparently there was a by-election last week. Anyone hear the results? What a week. A truly, truly historic win for Hannah, for the Green Party, and for everybody that does not want this country taken over by the far right. It was an important win. It was an exciting win. It was a very encouraging win. And we cannot allow it to make us complacent. Because this win is the beginning of the longest, hardest fight of our lives between now and the next general election in 2029. But doesn't the spirit of Gorton and Denton put us in the mood to get our shoes on, leave the house, and get in this fight? I really feel like things are shifting. Just give us a cheer if you listen to the Guilty Feminist. Give us a cheer if you don't really know what you're at. Quite a few people here thought Zach Palanski, that sounds fun. Just to be clear, the Guilty Feminist is a podcast, and it's a podcast about our noble goals as 21st century feminists and our hypocrisies and insecurities, which undermine them. That's right. This is a space where we believe you do not have to be perfect to be a force for meaningful change. So if you want to be part of a joyful resistance, but you think, I don't know if I've got enough time, I don't know if I've got enough experience, I'm not sure I'm good enough, there is a space in this fight for you. Right now we are doing a project called The Road to Gilead. And that's a sort of pop culture reference, Margaret Atwood's dystopian future. But ours will be with extra Palantir. I mean, whatever you could say for Gilead in the Handmaid's Tale, it was very low tech. There was no facial recognition. You just put a little hood up and wander off. They were always doing now, swapping hoods and stuff, weren't they? We won't be able to swap hoods because there'll be cameras on every corner. Everywhere we go, there'll be no hood swapping. You'll have to stick with your hood, the hood that you're given. So to avoid that, we thought we'd do a show. So this is what this project is. We have a genuine fear. We're seeing it live streamed from America right now. We are seeing 200 women in America have been arrested for miscarriages because they're being treated now, as they have to be, increasingly like homicide scenes. But I noticed not one man has been arrested because of the Epstein files. We're seeing children dragged out of schools in handcuffs, and people who try and help executed in the street. And Reform and the Conservative Party and any coalition of the two have promised ICE here. So if you want to know more about why America has designs on us as a sort of unofficial 51st state, you can see the advantage for them. Just sort of private jets full of billionaires going back and forth, absolutely easy operations, no sanctions, nothing like that. If you want to know more about it, we've done quite a few shows now that are all podcasts about the road to Gilead. They're all free. I've also written a book that touches on this a lot or unpacks this a lot. That's not free, please buy it. It takes a long time to write a book, but I have no time tonight to explain it. But they are selling the books here. If you'd like to buy one, I've signed some. Otherwise, listen to the podcasts. And we're doing lots of things. We're doing open space days, grassroots days. We'll be on the Together Alliance March under Guilty Feminist Road to Gilead. And we're doing lots of shows in London. We're trying to tour around the country. So there's plenty of opportunity to get involved. Tonight, we're going to have some music. We're going to have some comedy. We're going to have some shenanigans. We're going to have some rabble-rousing. That will be the end of a short first act. It will be a short first act. Then there will be a short interval. And after the interval, we're going to have a longer second act with our guest. There'll be a deep dive conversation and then a Q&A from you. And our guest is Zach Palanski, the leader of the Green Party. I do want to make it clear, you don't have to be convinced you're voting Green to be welcome here tonight. We are all about coalition. If you want a kinder, fairer society with more opportunity and potential for us as individuals and communities, you are amongst friends. But personally, I'm going to say it, I back Zack. Why? Well, Nigel Farage has spent all week since Gorton and Denton not reflecting on why more people didn't want to vote Reform, but by loudly claiming that there was cheating. And that's because he's learned from Donald Trump that he doesn't need to explain to his voters why they didn't win. He just has to give them a story they can tell themselves about why they didn't really lose. Beware the man who says you cannot trust in our democratic process. You can only trust in me. He is paving the way for autocracy. He also claimed there was sectarianism. that the Green Party courted the Muslim vote. Is it possible that people of Muslim heritage, though, just voted for the only party in the running that wasn't saying, "Island of strangers, immigrants go home"? Could that be it? Is it possible that the only party in the running that was saying, "Yeah, you're our neighbours too, we'll represent you too," was the one they wanted to vote for? I don't know, but what I do know is that certainly there are other demographics that vote in what they believe to be their interests. I'm going to play a guessing game now. There's a man called Toby, or maybe Rupert. He lives in Kensington and Chelsea, and has done all his life. He wears a pinky ring. He owns a barber jacket. Historically and traditionally, which party has this man voted for? 1, 2, 3? Tories, indeed. Now, for a bonus round, which party do his family vote for? He's being coerced by his family. Stop the coercion of Toby's. Toby's everywhere are being coerced. Families tend to vote together. And what I saw when I was knocking on doors in Gorton and Denton on the day of the election was actually that people were genuinely excited. And lots of different people were genuinely excited because they felt that somebody had a positive message of hope and togetherness and said, look, we've all got different ideas about what's right, we've all got different interests, but let's vote in coalition. Let's get together and vote for somebody who's saying there's room for all of us. And I knocked on several doors where a collection of women opened the door and went, Greens! Which I've never seen in politics in this country, but they were like punching the air. If those women were being coerced, they deserve BAFTAs. Unbelievable. But also, to be strictly fair, I saw a couple of white blokes in white vans go past and go, "Better up the Greens." I don't see this as a massively sectarian space. Nigel Farage talks a lot about sectarianism, and it's a political trick and a narcissistic tendency to accuse other people of what you're doing. But he's not courting existing communities. He is creating a sect by engendering fear of Muslim neighbours, fear of a tiny, teeny number of transgender people. Do you know what the official government website says? All we know of is 0.5%. That means in every 100 people, half a person is trans. Fear of trans people, fear of Muslim people, fear of International Women's Day. To be fair, it does sneak up on me every year. Where the fuck did that come from? Don't blame him for being frightened of that one. But then he promises that he is the only man that can fight these imaginary enemies. I actually don't really see the Greens chasing votes. I see Zack saying what he believes, even when he knows it might lose him votes. I'll give you an example of this. There's only one party leader that has said these exact words. "I've never taken drugs, but they should be legal." Next slide. "I personally think that the war on drugs was lost many years ago, and that the lives of millions of people in Britain are being made miserable by the huge criminal element that surrounds the illicit drug trade. And I do think that Portugal does show us that perhaps there is a better, more enlightened way to deal with this." Next slide. "I think we should look at it. There should be a genuine royal commission. If there's a royal commission to be had, it should be about how Portugal, some states in America, and Switzerland have done this." And I'll tell you who that party leader was. Next slide. It was Nigel Farage, 2014. As seen here in the Telegraph. It was Nigel Farage. That's right, Nigel Farage knows this is correct. He knows this. And so does Keir Starmer. Keir Starmer was a public prosecutor for years. Of course he knows this is right. Of course he knows. Keir Starmer's a very intelligent man. He's not Matt Goodwin. Or as we now call him, Matt Bad Loss. The stats are clear. These are some stats from the Transform Drug Policy Foundation, and they seem to check out. They're only a few years old. Do you know how many people die in Portugal because of drug-related deaths? And they do it by how many people in every million per year. In Portugal, where drugs have been decriminalised, 6 people out of every million die drug-related incidents every year. Now I'm going to ask you, here, where it has not been decriminalised, Scotland, which is a particularly bad example, how many people in Scotland die every year where it is criminalised, as opposed to the 6 in Portugal out of every million? Any guesses? I'll give you a hint. It's more than 6. Anyone want to advance on 6? No. You've overstepped and you've killed it. Obviously not 10,000. I think we would know if it were 10,000. This is why we normally don't let men in. We've changed that now. We never didn't let men in. We've always let them in, but now they want to come because they have representation on stage. It's true. I tell you, I've been booking men, just like I booked this professor of fascism because I thought, I just need to know what he knows. And he was an old white, the number of men that turned out for him, I tell you. Representation matters, guys. That's all I'm saying. So let's take that again. If it's 6 in Portugal where it's decriminalised, how many is it in Scotland? Not 7. No, that's sarcastic now. It's really terrible. Okay, now we have to get serious. It's really terrible. Because this is because of policy. 315, which is 50 times higher. And you might not have known that, but Keir Starmer does. And Nigel Farage obviously does. They know that Zack is not talking about handing out crack cocaine like M&Ms at the school gate, like the child catcher, as they are making him out to be, but about the proper management and regulation of drugs to make life safer, get people treatment if they need it, and to stop incarceration of our most disenfranchised young people, to stop them get pushed into gangs. It's something that if you want to fix a lot of homelessness, legalize drugs. If you want to keep kids in education longer, legalize drugs. Allow people to ask for help. Make sure they're not putting washing up powder in their veins. There's all sorts of ways that this helps. This could be a cross-party issue because they both know, and Zack's for it. Anyone know the Lib Dem policy? No, of course you don't. But they are basically the same as the Greens, But why don't they go after Lib Dems going, oh my God, you want to push heroin on children? Because they don't see the Lib Dems as a credible threat. Probably fairly. We want them in a coalition. I don't know that the Conservatives would ever team up on it, but I do truly believe, credit where credit's due, that if David Cameron didn't have a real respect for cocaine, we never would have had a reckless referendum that brought us Brexit. Allegedly, I don't know that for sure, it's just what I've heard, but I do know that cocaine makes you think you can win things that you can't if you don't work for them. Allegedly, we don't know that for sure. But actually, the media knows this, and the right-wing media knows this. So many headlines from the Daily Telegraph, 2016, 2017, 2018, saying the war on drugs is lost, we absolutely need to legalise. Like, headline after headline. Prince William says it. Like, I mean, he questions it, he can't come out and say it, but it's like, it's so extreme how many headlines from the Daily Telegraph are saying we should legalise drugs because it would be better. And then there is now a different headline in the Telegraph. And do you know what that headline is? The Greens want to legalise heroin for reasons of inclusion. That's what they're saying. That's not what they were saying. So the media knows. The political class knows. And I'm really not telling you this because I want to talk about drugs. That's by the by. I'm telling you this because I want to make this point. Our leadership and our media know that we could change things for the better and save lives and make lives better. But instead, they are cravenly doing what they know to be damaging and making out that the Greens are loony, lefty, risible, scary, going to get your kids hooked on drugs. And that is purely so that they can maintain power or grasp for power. I'm telling you this because I aspire to genuinely progressive evidence-based leadership from leaders of integrity who say what they truly believe, even if it risks losing votes. Thank you for that applause break while I just turn the page. Very, very theatrical. I want a leader who's happy to work in coalition, who understands this is leadership, this isn't power. This is representation. I want a leader who wants to work in coalition because it's pragmatic, it's more collaborative, and because they know they don't have all the answers. And I'm interested in a leader who will come and sit with us and let us ask him questions and answer those questions rather than dodge them. And I don't see that anywhere else, so I back Zack. But I also believe that Zack needs us. If the Green Party are to take a leadership position, whether in coalition or not, they are going to need a lot of us to make that happen. And it can only happen in grassroots. Did you see the figures that just came out about donations to parties in the last quarter of 2025? It just came out before I came on stage. Reform were top, 5.4 million in the last quarter. Most of that seems to have come from people abroad, foreigners, if you will. Seem to be happy to take their money. And the lowest was the Greens at £294,000. So either we're going to need some very wealthy people on board, and do pass the hat around tonight, or we're going to need a lot of boots on the ground. And I don't think we can compete with Russian money and money coming in from all sorts of places, because I don't think we want to take that money. If you take the billionaires' money, you owe them policy. And we don't owe billionaires policy, certainly not foreign billionaires policy. We owe policy to the citizens of this country. And so it is the citizens of this country who must say who we want in power. This election will not be bought because they have not seen the manpower and the woman power and the non-binary power coming their fucking way. There's a political scientist at Harvard who I love called Erica Chenoweth, and they demonstrated that if 3.5% of the population consistently resist and protest, it's very difficult for any government to not change or be changed. 3.5%, that sounds really doable, doesn't it? But bad news, because it's us that got our shoes on tonight and left the house and got here tonight. We are that 3.5%. And our fight, it starts tonight. Thank you so much. Now, would you like some stand-up comedy? Then please welcome to the stage a great friend of mine, an incredible comic. It's the wonderful Athena Kugblenu.
What's happening, you chap? Are we good? Oh man, it's a very hard time to do comedy at the moment. Looking like this, like being brown in 2026 and trying to tell jokes is hard, man. It's a hard atmosphere to tell jokes in. But one thing that helps my job easier is the thought that no matter how bad things get today, I wouldn't go back to the 1950s. It's true, I wouldn't do it. 1950s black people, made out of different stuff, man. They used to go to places and see signs, yeah? No blacks, no dogs, no Irish. These were actual signs they saw, and they still took jobs, drove buses, worked in the NHS, started businesses, started families. It is on their shoulders that I stand, right? It's on their shoulders that I stand. 1950s black people was different. I'm telling you right now, if Windrush was full of 2026 black people, we would not have got off the boat. It docked in Tilbury. Have you been to Tilbury recently? Imagine what it was like in the 1950s. Now, I don't want to mock anyone from Essex or Tilbury, but I do want to say this, right? They went to Tilbury, they came from Barbados. If it was me, I'd have taken one look and I'd been like, turn it around, turn. Can you just reverse it? Turn. Man, they put up with stuff. 2026 black people, we're not like 1950s black people. 1950s black people, dog shit through the letterbox, doesn't matter, we'll stay in the neighborhood. 2026 black people, a black woman got voted off Traitors First. Fuck you people, we're going. Pack our bags. We don't put up with nothing. We shouldn't put up with it, but it's a privilege to have that to be annoyed about and not the other stuff, and I acknowledge that. Still, it's important to see the trajectory we're on in this country. It's not the right one. Absolutely not the right one. I think one of the things we can do to combat it is just listen to the people who are facing the wrong direction. Let's listen to them. I was watching the news last summer, right? I saw a guy, and he was protesting against one of the asylum seeker hotels that this government was using at the time. And a journalist asked him what his problem was. Right? This is what he said, word for word. He said, they're not coming here for safety. They're after our women. Then the camera panned. Who's going to tell him? I know what some of you are thinking. Athena, don't mock the looks of people you disagree with. You don't have to do that. They're wrong. Argue with them on points. I'm actually not doing that, okay? This guy was wrong for all other kinds of reasons. I mean, yes, but also, first of all, are women. You can't own women. That woman is not yours. Secondly, you cannot define English femininity. You can't define it. That's called ethno-nationalism. That is very wrong. And you can't say that. It is so wonderful. It is so desired, so wanted. People will risk their lives to get it. I'm sorry to say. I'm sorry. You can't say. And not only can you not say that because it is just completely ridiculous, it's also doesn't make any sense. There's no logic to it. I'll explain myself. I consider myself a thirsty girl. And Zach said he's not yet. I heard the yet. I heard the yet, guys. He said it loud. But I'm a thirsty girl, and my current crush is a guy, you might know him, his name's Aaron Pierre. Do you know? Oh, you're cheering right now. Don't get out your phones and look right now. They're wooden seats. You will slide off. I got no notes on Aaron Pierre's face. The man is fine. I'm telling you right now. If you put Aaron Pierre on a beach in Kent, and you put me on a beach in France, right, and you have Aaron Pierre wearing tiny pants, because it's my scenario, he's in tiny pants, guys, and he's carved into the sand, like, will you marry me? It's like an Instagram proposal for me, right? You've seen those proposals, right? And not only that, there's a tattoo artist next to him. That tattoo artist isn't going to put my name into his chest, because lots of people are called Athena these days, frustratingly enough. Not even my face, because guess what? People look a little bit like me. That's just how it works. He's going to put into Aaron Pierre's chest my national insurance number. You can't get till death do us part, Aaron. That's my pension right there. And the only thing I've got to do to get that national insurance number, and he's got like a big chest, it'll be like font 400. Oh. The only thing that needs to happen for me to marry Aaron Pierre and get my government number on his chest is for me to get into a boat with 39 other people that I don't know with a life jacket, a little dinghy that isn't safe, make it to him, then he's mine. Boy, as much as I love that guy and as thirsty as I am, I'd be like, can I negotiate? Can I, is there another way I can do this? Can I have all of that if I get to him by flying Ryanair? Can I suffer the indignity of wearing all of my luggage? Aaron, I love you. And maybe I could land like 10 miles from him and then walk the rest of the way. It's crazy, man. I think the problem with the times we've got now is that we're just not listening to each other. But I want to talk about one personal experience that I'm having, because I'm personally affected by racism at the moment, and it's something people have stopped doing to me. Non-white people have stopped acting surprised when I tell them my age. And Guilty Feminist, I'm going to leave you with this. Fix everything but always act surprised when a black person tells you their age. So, right, I've been Athena Kugblenu, thank you. Have a good evening.
Athena Kugblenu, everybody! Now when we have big events like this, we have a charity of the week, and this particular charity is, I had an incredible longer studio podcast with them this week, and they're truly amazing. So this is an incredibly short segment, but you're going to learn about something really interesting. So first of all, I'm going to welcome to the stage my co-host for this evening, the wonderful Juno Dawson.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm like, where am I saying?
You sit here.
Oh, okay.
And I would like to introduce to you from MSI, Associate Director, Sarah Shaw.
Thank you.
Now, MSI, you can look them up under msichoices.org, are an incredible international charity. They deliver contraception and abortion services around the world in 36 countries, including the UK. So Sarah, why is it that particularly now, just before International Women's Day, at this time in history, do we need to be so concerned about reproductive rights?
We can't have a gender equal world whilst half the population in the world don't have bodily autonomy and don't have access to abortion services, because it means they don't have opportunity, choice, voice and agency in their lives. And I've been doing this work for over 20 years, and I have never seen such an extreme and aggressive pushback against reproductive rights, but broader human rights. You will have seen a few years ago the US government denied its citizens access to abortion. The same organisations that were behind that pushback, we now see them active in the UK, trying to roll back abortion rights here, and we see them active in Africa, trying to roll back abortion rights, but they're also behind anti-LGBT legislation that's currently in about 3 parliaments in Africa.
And when Deb and I were planning this yesterday, we were talking about you, and she was telling me about there's an international gagging order. Can you tell us about that as well?
Yeah, so this is something that every Republican administration brings in, and it's called the Global Gag Rule, and it says that charities that take funding from the US government are not allowed to use their money that they've got from other sources, so maybe that they've raised from the general public, they're not allowed to use that on any work related to abortion. So for MSI, we lost all of our US funding, and this meant our team in Zimbabwe had to reduce their contraception services by 50%, and they were serving really underserved communities that had no other service provider. So it's really catastrophic for those communities because the services just had to stop.
So just to be clear, if the US gives you money for a literacy program, but you also get money from another source, from Sweden, for contraception, yeah. The US go, we're not giving you anything now because someone else gave you money for condoms.
Exactly, that's it. And
I don't know what this charity is that does books and condoms, but I'm on board. But that's an example.
Yeah, it is. And last month we saw the policy expanded to also apply to organisations that work with trans people and organisations that work with the LGBT community. So if you do work with with those groups and those communities, you're not allowed to accept US funding. You have to forego your US funding or stop that really important work.
Now, this leads to ambiguity, doesn't it? Because is it clear that, say you have a literacy program and there's someone on it who identifies as gay or identifies as trans, or you think in a country where that might not be possible to be out, you suspect they are, even though that is not about advancing gay rights or trans rights, might you stop working with that person?
Definitely,
not you, but
yeah.
somebody.
Yeah, I mean that's our experience in the abortion movement, because we've lived through this policy many times. This is like my 4th global gag rule, and our experience is that it's really complicated, and most organisations say this is too complicated. We don't we don't know where the line in the sand is. We don't want to be the one that's responsible for losing our organisation's funding, so we're just going to stop doing work with these groups, and we're going to even stop talking about these groups because you're not even allowed to talk.
And it's so funny that it's the people who cry the loudest about being silenced are often the people who are not being silenced. So.
Absolutely. But also, it just devastates me to think a child who's going through a program to help them with the eyesight or diabetes or something, that someone might go, oh, this child seems, or the young person seems queer in some way.
Bit zesty.
Bit what?
Bit zesty. That's what Gen Z say. Bit zesty.
A bit zesty, is that what they say? Yeah. I'm so out of touch. They might just go, what if they come in and checking this, we might get money taken away from us. So even the person in question might not even be queer, but they might go, not masculine enough, not feminine enough. And so you're killing people off, in fact. You're killing off queer people or people who won't conform to a gender stereotype, because a lot of these programs are about medicine.
Yeah.
It's so shocking to me that is the case, and that's new under the MAGA administration, the queer part.
Yes.
The Republicans always did the abortion part, and now it's contraception as well.
Now they've expanded it.
So this means you need money.
Yes.
How can we help?
So we've got a stall at the back. You can go over there, get QR codes, and there's some free stuff as well. You can sign up to our newsletter. You'll hear about campaigns. We'll, if there's actions you can take, we'll give you tools to help you with the actions. But also, if you've got spare cash, £25 will pay for contraception for an adolescent girl, so it'll stop her from getting pregnant, which means she won't have to drop out of school or have unsafe abortion, and
they'll pay for her through her whole education.
That will keep her in contraception for her entire time in school. So she will graduate school and be able to, start her life from a really good place. And then £50 will pay for abortion care for one person.
Okay, so I can't think of anything better to spend that money on if you've got it. I know it's a very tight time for almost everybody, but if you were going to spend 25 quid on something less important than a girl getting her full education and being able to relax through that period, then, I certainly immediately came off the Zoom and gave 25 quid because I was like,
thank you.
Well, it's just, you just think you can sleep at night knowing you've done that. Thank you so much. msichoices.org if you want to know more, or there's a table up the back and you can go and see them and ask all about it in the break. Sarah Shaw, everybody.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Deborah. Thank you, Juno.
And Juno Dawson, who you'll be seeing more of later. All right, to close the first short act, I would like to, before the interval, to please welcome to the stage the Resistance Singers London.
Hello.
Hello.
Can we just, I'm so sorry, I'm going to correct you, Deborah. It's Singing Resistance London. Always lead with the singing.
I got it wrong, it wasn't on my clipboard.
It's my fault,
But
I should have written it.
that part wasn't my fault. Can you say it again?
Singing Resistance London.
To be fair, they only just named themselves when I said, what's your name? Yesterday, they went, we don't have one, and they started an Instagram page. So this name is brand new, and it only exists because I asked for it. So, Singing Resistance London. Yes, thank you very much. Wonderful. Now, can you just tell us, what is it that you do?
We are a collection of singers, not just us four, but many other singers, who will be doing a big sing on the 28th of March as part of Together Alliance's March Against the Far Right. Thank you. But we've also, we're all singers, songwriters, choir makers, and we know how amazing it is to bring people together to sing, and what it does to you spiritually and socially and all these things. And I think we just wanted to make it as accessible and open to as many people, so you don't have to be in a choir to join us. We will send you songs, and we will give you a rehearsal point in the morning before the march, so you can feel confident. You can practice at home or not, or just learn it on the day. Or if you just happen to be passing that bit of the march, all of these songs are immediately catchable. By kind of osmosis, you stand near people who are singing it. Within 2 minutes, the earworm is there, and you've done it. You've learnt it, you're singing it. Before you know it, you're raising harmonies and the roof. So
wonderful.
It's a win for everyone.
So if people want to get involved, your Instagram is?
is Singing Resistance London.
And your email is?
Wait for it. singingresistancelondon@gmail.com.
Great.
Also, only invented 2 days ago. Thank you.
Or you can march nearby and just, as you'll see tonight, you'll just catch on. And I love the fact that these songs, a lot of them are sort of one line, they're like chants at a march, but they're beautiful songs. And what's the song you're going to sing for the end of this half?
So we're going to teach everybody a song called Bob's Bullets, which Ryan over here, thank you, to my right, has written, inspired by a quote from Bob Marley immediately after he and his wife and his manager were shot. He went straight back to gigging, and somebody said, "What are you doing? That's really dangerous." And he said, and this is a paraphrase because songwriters often get inspired and don't quite go verbatim. He said, "The people who are trying to make this world worse aren't taking a day off, so why should I?"
And so
Pretty good
that
question.
is this song, Bob's Bullet. Take it away.
This song is in 4 parts, but we think a speed learn of each part, so you'll be ready for the march as well. But once you've heard all the parts separately, we're going to do something very clever. So imagine there's a line down the middle of the audience, whoop, like that, and that everybody on the ground floor to this side, you will be guided by Hallie. This is Hallie. Everybody upstairs to this side, you belong to me, thank you very much. Everybody downstairs belongs to Fran on the other half. Also, lucky you. And everybody upstairs on the right, or your left, my right, belongs to Ryan. But like I said, it's a kind of good warm-up to sing everything, sing all the parts, just enjoy yourselves. If it goes wrong, if you do a little word fluff, who cares? I don't. It'll be fine.
All the people who are trying to make this world worse, they're not taking a day off. Why should I? All the people who are trying to make this world worse,
Try it.
they're not taking a day off. Why should I?
One more time with us.
All the people who are trying to make this world worse, they're not taking a day off. Why should I?
Let me hear you.
All the people who are trying to make this world worse,
Very nice.
they're not taking a day off. Why should
This is
I?
part 1. Thank you very much. Part 2 goes like this. A lot of no's, but man, it's fun to sing. Go.
No, 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 no. They're not taking a day off. Why should I? Why should I? No, 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 no. They're not taking a day off. Why should I? Why should I?
Easy, right? Just tell us it's easy, yeah? You sound amazing. Then there's part number 3, which is the same lyrics, but just if you're feeling a little bit low, you want to sing some low songs. I'm not going to do this bit, Ryan. You're going to have to do it. My voice just doesn't go there. It sounds like this.
No, 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 no. They're not taking a day off. Why should I?
Oh, all right, let's try it.
No, 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 no. They're not taking a day off. Why should I? Why should I?
Oh my God, it's really nice.
Oh, thank you.
And then part number 3, 4. Well, part number 4. Thank you very much. I'm a musician, but my counting sometimes goes astray. It goes like this. Why should I? 'Cause they're not taking a day. So why should I? Let's try it.
Why should I? 'Cause they're not taking a day. So why should I?
Excellent. And this is how it works. It's like a little jigsaw puzzle. we're all going to start with part number 1 because you should all sing all of the time and know that it's really actually not as difficult as I'm making it seem. And we're going to bring you in, and then Hallie is going to keep you going this side, lower ground, left side, and then Fran and Ryan are going to take away the no, no, no parts. And before you know it, people up there, I can't see you because the lights are so bright, you're with me. We'll be fine, don't worry.
All the people who are trying to make this world worse, they're not taking a day off. Why should I? All the people who are trying to make this world worse, they're not taking a day off. Why should I? All the people who are trying to make this world worse, they're not taking a day off. Why should I? Why should I? All the people who are trying to make this world worse, they're not taking a day off. Why should I? Why should I? All the people who are trying to make this world worse, they're not taking a day off. Why should I? Why should I? All the people who are trying to make this world worse, they're not taking a day off. Why should I? Why should I? All the people who are trying to make this world worse, they're not taking a day off. Why should I? Why should I? All the people who are trying to make this world worse, they're not taking a day off. Why should I? Why should I? No. They're not taking a day off. Why should I? Why should I? No. Trying to make this world worse, they're not taking a day off. Why should I? Why should I? All the people trying to make this world worse, they're not taking a day off. Why should I?
You're all fully rehearsed, so I'll see you on the 28th. The other songs will pick up in 2 seconds. Sorry? Singing Resistance London.
Singing Resistance London, everybody! Woo! Check them out, go and march with them! It's now time for an interval. You've got 25 minutes to go get a drink, go to the loo, and we'll see you back here for Zach Palanski. Union Chapel, welcome back and welcome to the stage, protest singer, the incredible Lizzy Hardingham.
Hello, are you all having a wonderful evening? So am I, thanks for asking. My name's Lizzy Hardingham and I'm a queer folk musician and protest singer. And when Deborah asked me to come and sing tonight, I thought I ought to write something. So I wrote this song and it's called We're Not Done. Would you like to join in? That's exactly what I wanted to hear. You were in such fine voice for Singing Resistance London that I thought I would carry on. But maybe we could get a bit angrier and do some shouting instead of singing. Are you up for that? Yes! Amazing. It's really, really very simple. When I sing We're Not Done, you're going to shout We're Not Done. And it's not that I don't trust you or anything, but I think we should do a test drive. It's going to go like this. We're not done yet. We're not done. We're not done. See? Like that. But maybe turn the volume up to 11 and then we'll be there. Do you want to give it one more go? Are you ready? Amazing. We're not done yet. We're not done. Yeah, you got it. Cracking. when I sing We're Not Done, it's time to shout, and we're going to make sweet, sweet, sweet harmony to rouse this second half into its lovely start. My name's Lizzy Hardingham. We're not done. There's a crack in the pavement where the truth fell through, buried under headlines and a flag or two. They say keep calm, keep quiet out of sight, but we've been keeping quiet for all our lives. They've sold off all the railway, they've sold off all the land. They're selling off the future by the hour, by the hand. And every time they say there is no other way, another disillusioned person turns away. And oh, I can hear it in the streets tonight, a restless kind of drum. Every voice that they ignored is saying we're not done, we're not done yet, we're not done. This is what democracy sounds like when it's sung. We're not done yet, we're not done. And if you're looking for permission, this is it. We're not done. You can come again. From the nurses on the night shift who are holding broken lines, to the kids with cardboard placards and hand-painted signs. This country isn't borders, it's our neighbours, it's our homes. And when we stand together, we are not alone. They can scapegoat all our unions, blame the votes and blame the poor. Raise a little union jack and call it keeping score. But they can't divide what they can't contain, and revolution smells as sweet by any other name. And oh, there's a rhythm in the factories, the classrooms and the farms. Every voice that they ignored is calling to arms. We're not done yet, we're not done. This is what democracy sounds like when it's sung. We're not done yet, we've only just begun. And if you're looking for permission, this is it. We're not done. So I'll link my arms with strangers, so we can talk it out. And maybe if we talk as one, they will hear us when we shout. We're not done yet, we're not done. This is what democracy sounds like when it's sung. We're not done yet, we've only just begun. And if you're looking for permission, this is it. If you're looking for a sign, then this is it. We're not done. One more time. We're not done. If you're looking for permission, this is it. We're not done. Thank you very much. My name's Lizzy Hardingham. Have a great
Lizzy
rest of your
Hardingham,
second half.
everybody! Thank you so much, Lizzy. And thank you for writing that especially for us. Please welcome back to the stage my incredible co-host for this evening's Sunday Times best-selling author and screenwriter. It's Juno Dawson. Hello, darling. And the freshly triumphant from the last by-election Green Party leader, it's Zach Palanski!
Thank you. I love you too.
They're quite keen.
Zesty.
Oh, there's some zesty ones in tonight, and no mistake. We attract a zesty crowd. Can we ask, Zach, how did you get into politics? What is your background? Because you seem to be quite different from other party leaders in lots of different ways. Like, I think one thing people are being drawn to is you seem like a person who cares about the country and the world, as opposed to somebody giving us spin and policy and in a way that's designed to get us to like you. You're saying, this is what I think. I'm going over here. Would you like to come with me? Where did you come from, Zach? Who are you? Who is she?
I thought you were going to stop after you said you seem like a person.
Yeah. Well, a lot of them do seem a lot like Claude, the AI one, don't they? A lot of them seem very ChatGPT with the answers that they come back with. Where are you from? What do you do?
I hadn't told you this bit, but I'm having a lovely full circle moment being on this stage. Because before I was a politician, I was a theatre community actor.
Oh.
Oh yeah, big out to the theatre community actors. I used to do something called Theatre of the Oppressed, which I won't go off on one, but it started in the 1970s in the favelas, some of the poorest areas of South America, where a guy called Augusto Boal was working with people from oppressed communities, be them migrant communities, disabled people, renters who are being screwed over by unscrupulous landlords, trans people, whoever it might be, working with people to say, how do you rehearse in terms of rehearse moments of oppression, of how you can challenge that oppression? And then on this very stage, a few years ago, I was involved with a piece of work where an audience came, and we were talking about migrant raids that were happening in the area around London more generally. And then audience members, I'm not going to do this tonight, there's quite a lot of you, weren't allowed to leave until they come up on stage and practiced, we call it rehearsing revolution, how you might challenge someone who is raiding or what you could do to support or help someone. So the work I've done has always been based in community, and it's always been not about audiences watching, but actually how do you get the audience up on stage so they're live and involved in the conversation. And then my full circle moment, Deborah, was watching you earlier do that beautiful monologue about the state of the world and about drugs. And I was kind of completely lost in what you were saying. And then at the very end of it, you said, and Zach's going to be coming up on stage. And I was like, but I'm really enjoying the show. And actually, I want everyone to have that moment. I want everyone to enjoy, despair at the show, if we're talking about the world, notice the show, but also realize it's not a show because it's people's lives. And if you're someone who's struggling right now, I'm not necessarily talking to you because it's a marathon and not a sprint. But if you're someone who has the power and privilege in whatever moment to get a bit more involved, to stand up against injustice, to use your talent, whatever it might be, there's political talents, there's writing talents, there's communications talents. But frankly, if someone can cook food for volunteers, or someone can do data entry, or someone has ideas, there's a place for them in this movement. And of course, I'm talking about the Green Party, but I'm talking about a wider movement. And so I was doing lots of community theatre. I was also working in nightclubs, worked in Heaven nightclub.
Oh my God. What did you do at Heaven?
I worked on the door, but I wasn't like, you're not coming in. It was much more just checking people.
What years were you there?
Did you say why on earth?
What years were you at Heaven?
2006 to 2014,
That
maybe?
is my clubbing years. Oh my God, that was my London years. You probably threw me out of Heaven. Were you there the week Talisa performed? Because that was the week I got thrown out. So. Potentially by you. So.
I'm sure I would have been much nicer than that. And then I also worked, probably no one has known this ever, as a hypnotherapist for a short amount of time, which, no one's ever heard about.
That is a deep cut. Weirdly, Laura Bates, do you know Laura Bates, who does Everyday Sexism?
You must read her book. Her book
She
is
was
amazing.
really excited about you coming on, and she said, I would like you to ask Zach about it, because she said, I think because of the way that the press and some of your opponents have spun it, she said, I think it might be holding some female voters back, going, well, I don't know about that thing. Could you just very briefly tell, because it's obviously mostly women and people of minority genders that listen to this show, just say what it was that happened. I mean, if that's the only skeleton in your closet, I kind of feel like, and I feel like it might be because it's the only one they've got, I'm sort of like, oh my God, lots of people do things when they're young and, they're trying out lots of different things. It doesn't particularly bother me, but because Laura said that to me, I thought, oh, well, maybe it is bothering other people, and I want to give you an opportunity to say what that was.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. I do have another skeleton, by the way. The Home Secretary said today that I was helping migrants, and how outrageous that was to support refugees who were stuck over. So that's kind of how grim, but I'm sure we'll get onto that. In terms of the actual question, so I was working a lot in drama schools and universities, working particularly with young people who were having problems with confidence, particularly body confidence. And the whole idea was group sessions to kind of, particularly young women, if they're learning ballet, for instance, are staring at themselves in the mirror all day. Very often internal dialogue, or even sometimes their teachers, frankly, telling them the most awful things about themselves, and just getting people to let go of that kind of baggage and just be comfortable in being themselves. And so a Sun journalist contacts me. By the way, someone said to me the other day, if someone says they work for the Sun and they're a journalist, both of those things can't be true. It has to. But this was 2013, so it was way before I was involved in politics. I should have linked to the last story, by the way, when I was doing community theatre. If you'd asked me who the leader of the opposition was, I wouldn't have even known, which I used to kind of be embarrassed about when I first got into politics, but I've really started to embrace, because actually I think there's lots of people who politics has always seemed like a dirty business or not for them. And that's because lots of people are in politics because their parents were in politics, or they grew up in a very political household. And if people grow up in a political household, I think that's great, by the way. I love when I go to someone's house and the kids in particular are really, really engaged. But there are so many households where they're just struggling to get by. And the idea of talking about politics is just not in the conversation. So that's kind of where I was, where politics was never kind of in my house. And so some journalists said, would you do a piece about body confidence? And I said, I'm more than happy to. Then they said, would you do this ridiculous experiment? And I said, no, that's absurd. And they said, what if I make it clear that it's an experiment, it's not something you do, and it's not something you charge for? And I said, sure, which is a mistake, and I think you've got to own your mistakes, and I am more than one mistake. We are all more than one mistake. I think the important part of this story is, well, the first important part is she wrote a really nice piece saying it worked. Bizarre.
And this is, if people haven't heard this story, it's somebody who was a journalist who said, if you've got this power of hypnotizing me for body confidence, can you make my breast bigger? And you said no, and then she said, oh, come on, it'll be a fun kind of puff piece, and then you did it, and she said it worked.
Yeah, I hadn't learned to say no yet. It took politics to learn to say no. And so she wrote a piece the next day, said this was wonderful, and I charged £220, which, even if I had done it, £220 seems that maybe that's cheap, I don't know. And so,
cheaper than a boob job.
Quite.
To be fair.
I think the key bit is I went on the radio the next day as well on the BBC because they wanted to talk to me about it. And they said back then, this does not represent me, this is not what I do, this is a piece where the journalist has got a little bit excited. I think the main thing though as well is, I see this from the establishment, that any kind of chance to push people down and to not allow them to explain themselves. And I think they feel like they had this one thing from 2013. And when I was first elected, I think I was definitely like, is this going to be a problem? But actually very quickly, I think as soon as I told the story, people were like, Yeah, that sounds about as ridiculous as it sounds. And actually, I have a whole history and record, both as an elected London Assembly member and now as leader of the Green Party, of standing up for people, of making sure that I'm challenging injustice, and indeed owning up when you've made a mistake. And I love that you said at the very beginning that the podcast is about none of us being infallible, none of us being perfect, but actually recognise we've been on a journey. My favourite politician is Tony Benn, and he often said, he often said, I don't care where you came from, I care where you're going. And actually, I'm focused on where we're all going right now.
Agreed. So if anyone ever asks you again, you can direct them to this episode and say, Zach explained it on The Guilty Feminist, and that's done. Okay. Juno, do you have a question?
I do. So Deb asked me to come on. So Russell T Davies said, you need some trans people on. So Deb got in touch with me and was like, Juno, would you like to come and co-host The Guilty Feminist? And obviously I was like, yes. Are we talking about Sex and the City? And Deb was like, not this time. And she was like, would you like to think of some guests? Would I like to curate a panel? And I just said, yes, I just want Zach Palanski.
Yeah, she did. And I thought she was going to curate a panel of transgender people to talk about this. And it was really interesting.
Well, that's your first mistake, because no trans person ever wants to sit next to another trans person, because you want to be the most beautiful trans person at any given point. So that's just lunacy that you would think that. But no, it was because my other fantasy is that I like to be Princess Leia, and to me, Zach, you are Obi-Wan Kenobi. You are. This isn't a fucking joke. Literally. You are our only hope. I mean,
I did ask her to do the hair for this, and she said no.
No, I just got it coloured. I wasn't going to put it up. I'm a feminist, but... So I came out in 2013 and have had to live through things getting worse and worse and worse. And I say that as probably one of the most privileged trans people in the world. And I've seen things just get worse. I've seen our rights being taken away. The rights that I do have, I don't think I'm going to have for very long. And nobody is talking about it except Nicola Sturgeon and you. And I've already spoken to Nicola Sturgeon. So I wanted to talk to you. I really, really did. And you had just followed me back on Instagram. So I was like, I think we can get him. He literally followed me about 72 hours ago. So I'm going to slide into his DMs. And I'm so, so pleased that you agreed to come along. But given that this is my personal opportunity to deal with my worries, one of my worries right now about politics in general is that it seems to be becoming very based on personalities on both the right, where you've got your Trumps and Farages and Putin, but then I think on the left as well, where we're seeing these huge sort of social media campaigns behind like Zoran Mamdani or Alexandria Cortez, Ocasio-Cortez, or yourself. And I'm really, really worried about that the pressure it puts on you to be like the figurehead of this whole movement. The reaction you've got tonight is insane. But what I'm interested in is, what are you doing behind the scenes for the Green Party? Because at the end of the day, it's going to be the Greens that are going to win, not necessarily you, unless you live in Hackney. So what's going on, not just with you, but what's going on behind the scenes as well?
I love this question. Can I take it as 3 questions? I heard one about Russell T Davies, one about being the only hope and the cult of personality, and one about trans rights.
Let's go.
The Russell T Davies one, I just want to share, because I've never been able to share this in public. He is one of my favourite people in the world. And I got to meet him recently, and one of the few times where I was like, oh my God, I'm speaking to Russell T Davies, was the first thing he says to me. I heard of the interview where you said Doctor Who hasn't been as good for the last few years.
Which is upsetting for me as somebody who wrote Doctor Who last year. So yeah, offensive.
And so I just wanted to say to both him and you that any Doctor Who fan, like, the one thing that defines you is you're perennially disappointed. Like, it's never as good as it used to be.
Oh, I was disappointed in myself. I mean, that is what it is to be a Doctor Who fan.
And your episode was phenomenal, Shooty was phenomenal, RTD's been phenomenal too. And yes, indeed. And I blame Disney, but that's a whole other conversation we'd have another time. And the second thing was about when you said you're our only hope, I did wince a little bit, as lovely as it is. And that's because the Green Party, it comes back to my community theatre answer, to be honest. We're a community. And I'm very aware I've got Rachel Millward in my eyesight, who is our deputy leader. And Rachel has done phenomenal work since she's been deputy. Just today, she's been challenging the Home Secretary on the awful, awful reforms that she's looking to do to bring migration. But also, Rachel's background is in film and creative works, particularly running a feminist film festival, in fact, and is bringing so much to the table. Along with Rachel is an amazing deputy leader, co-deputy leader called Martin Ali. Yes, Martin deserves a round of applause too. Without turning this into 4 or 5 questions, Martin is a councillor in Gipton and Hare Hills. Gipton and Hare Hills was one of the places that faced the riots a year or 2 back. And there was footage of him at the riots, which Tommy Robinson shared to pretend that he was kind of part of the riots, whereas actually he was literally putting out the fires. And again, I think it just speaks to how the media tell these stories about people. And we're all vulnerable as any individual, that if you put a whole movement on my shoulders or Rachel's shoulders or Martin's shoulders, that just can't work. But frankly, it's not just about the leadership, it's not just about our MPs, it's every single member who's getting involved, every single supporter. And that's not just some kind of abstract idea, because people say to me all the time, you never seem tired. Like after Gorton and Denton, I was up all night at the Count, then I did about 40 interviews in the day, then was on the last leg, then was straight back to London Action Days. But the reason I don't get tired is this energy right here, everyone feeding off each other. And sure, this isn't a kind of very humble, it's nothing about me. I recognise I'm the moment to spark something, and people see something that they trust and believe in, but actually it's always about holding a mirror up to a person or people and saying, actually what you're seeing right now is your capacity to get involved, your capacity to know that you can make things different. And if I told you this story 2 weeks ago, it would have been a bit more abstract. But I've been on a journey the last few years where I met this amazing woman called Hannah Spencer. That does everyone. And I met Hannah before she was even a councillor, and we pretty much had this conversation about the fact that politics tells people who aren't involved in politics that it's not for them, that they can't do it. And actually it's upon all of us who can to go, no, I deserve to be in the room. And there's an amazing organisation called Elect Her, which is particularly for women and non-binary people, that gives them support for any party. It's not just a Green Party thing, but anyone who wants to get involved in politics, who gives them training, confidence, skills, resources. This is all intersectional, so if someone can't afford it, they'll give them money to buy clothes to go for hustings, which are like the debates that you go to during general elections. And Hannah went through all of these programs, and to now see the confidence that she's holding herself with in the House of Commons, having gone from never being involved in politics, demonstrates that this can work. And Hannah would be the first person to say that she's not special. By the way, she's really special, but anyway, that's her. But her point is that there's thousands of people, millions of people, in fact, who can speak with the same authenticity because they've lived a life, they've experienced things, they've known those struggles. And actually, when you put a microphone in someone's hand who is not bought off by oil and gas companies, private healthcare companies, armed trades companies, gambling companies, but can just speak with the fluency of someone who doesn't mind making a mistake, something might come out of their mouth that's not perfect, ideally not that they're going to hypnotize women's breasts, that's more than not perfect. But might, when I'm talking about not perfect, might get a number wrong or not get a policy perfectly, that's fine. That's part of being a human being. And I think when we have that, that's powerful. And then finally, I just want to say...
about trans people. Yeah, I was going to say, because a bit like with the hypnotising, the trans issue is something, it's a gotcha. It's something that journalists and right-wing politicians will try to trip you up on. And so why is it that you have been so brave in just saying what you're going to say?
I think it's as simple as knowing what you believe, knowing what your values are, and just saying them. Now, if that sounds twee, I said simple, I didn't say easy. Simple because when you know what you stand for, it's very easy to always answer a question. Something I love about being in the Green Party is even if you don't exactly know what a policy is, I shouldn't admit to sometimes I don't know what a policy is, you can usually take a pretty good guess and land where it's going to be. Because you go, what protects people? What protects the planet? Particularly the most vulnerable and marginalised people, and what stands against polluters and multimillionaires and billionaires and corporations, and what actually stands for the people. Because far too often, corporations have destroyed our democracy, destroyed our communities, and destroying our planet. They've taken our power, they've taken our wealth, and they've tried to take our democracy. And we're here tonight to say we are taking it back.
Can I ask you, Zach, if you come into a position of leadership, either as the PM or in coalition, what is your feminist agenda? I often think that I only hear female politicians talking about things like childcare or other issues that affect women, violence against women and girls. And I want to know, this is our audience. What's your feminist agenda? And what is your queer agenda? And specifically, what is your trans agenda? What would you do?
I think the first thing is to empower women and to make sure that more women are getting into positions of power. I'm sick of, I think this particularly with young people, you often hear politicians say, I'm so inspired by young people. And I go, well, stop being inspired by them and actually give them the skills, the tools, and the resources to hold the levers of power, to be at the table. To be at the table and co-design policy, nothing about us without us, whether that's about women, whether it's about trans people, whether it's about migrants or disabled people. We need to make sure that people are at the table. And that actually consultation isn't just notification. Far too often, politicians decide something in a back room, then they go to speak to the group of people and say, we just want to hear your opinions. Oh, okay, nice to hear your opinions, we're going to do this anyway. So I think, first of all, to make sure that we have more women and non-binary people in positions of power to be able to decide those things. Second, I'm going to get to hope in a moment, but you can't answer this question. And a trigger warning here, on average, a woman is murdered every single 3 days in the UK. When we talk about domestic or sexual violence, a woman is so much more likely to experience that by someone from inside their own home, from a partner, or from an ex-partner. None of that is natural. None of that needs to be the way it is. The reasons for it are complex. I think a lot of the reasons are around the manosphere, around what we're seeing increasingly with incel culture, with men who are unhappy, who are facing the consequences of decades of austerity, and aren't seeing a place for them in the world. Now, none of that, of course, is justification, certainly not for murder, for violence, or even, frankly, disrespect on women. You can not justify it at the same time as recognize that it's going on, and saying we need to be working with particularly young men, but frankly all men, to make sure that they understand equality and respect, that they understand what their role is in society, and also understand what it is to be an ally, and understand that being a bystander, depending on the circumstances, but the majority of the time, is not an acceptable thing to do. And actually, an injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere. And when they come for one of us, they come for all of us, and the only authentic response is solidarity.
Keir Starmer responded after having watched Adolescents by saying we need to be talking about misogyny in schools, and I was very appreciative of that effort. But if I were to talk to him, I would say, I nearly wrote to him about it, that it's great to go into schools or to give teachers the tools to say, hey, this is what misogyny looks like and it's bad. But do you know what really builds empathy? Story, the arts. Why did Keir Starmer himself decide this was a problem worth talking about? Because he felt something when he watched a really well-made TV show, a drama that people had spent time working on. I think story holds our cure. And I think, which is something Hannah Gadsby always says, and I think the arts also, by the way, in this country, is one thing that we make really well, we're famous for. They're not making as many movies in America anymore because of the situation. And there's a whole new industry of people wanting to come here to make film and television shows. There's so many reasons to fund the arts in this country. As somebody who started in the arts, who started in story, is there a way, is the economy, is the Treasury in so much trouble that you couldn't kind of come in and magically go, arts for everyone, or is that something you would prioritise? Can you just not print money and give it to the National Theatre and give it to theatre programmes? Because when kids are in school, if you do a scene with them where they have to play the one that's being bullied, or they have to talk about these things from the point of view of somebody else, I think that really changes things. Would you fund the arts?
I think you're spot on. There's nothing more powerful than storytelling. And I think I want to link back to the last question as well, actually, because I started to talk about violence against women and girls. And very often when we talk about feminist agenda, we go straight to the negative and the bleakness. And I think it's right, because we need to challenge that. But also we need hope, and we need an alternative. And actually what I think we need in this country is a politics of care, a politics that actually recognises our humanity as human beings, for politicians to get more comfortable talking about love and compassion, not in some kind of airy-fairy way, but actually that exists every single day in our society. It's the person who thanks the bus driver, the person who crosses the street to help a stranger cross the street with their shopping. But it's also about the economy, because actually care is already going on in our society. It's going on every single day, whether it's unpaid carers, whether it's someone looking after a family member, whether it's paid carers, whether it's someone working in palliative care. My boyfriend Richie works in palliative care, so I always have to shout out all the people who work in hospices. And although I said that my boyfriend works in it, the majority of people working in care, the vast majority, are women. And very often this whole unpaid sector is on the shoulders of women, and they're doing it every single day, and it's not being seen other than by the people who are being cared for. And actually, when we talk about economics, this is never in the conversation. So we have these absurd conversations about printing money. I have flashbacks of Rory Stewart, by the way. You had a very good impression there. But actually, we need to think about the cost of inaction. And what's happening right now is the cost of inaction. And what I mean by that is women are, and it's not just women, of course, also non-binary people and men are carrying this too, but predominantly women, are doing it every single day, and they're doing it because they've got no other choice. Meanwhile, the Treasury and the economy are going, okay, that's fine, we'll just focus on the city, or we'll just focus on the wealth creators. But actually, the wealth creators are the people who are caring for people, because they're allowing our city or our towns and villages to move. Our cleaners, our doctors, our teachers, our nurses. These are the people who are keeping our towns and cities moving. And when we talk about the arts, I think the biggest thing that's missing is empathy. It's empathy for the person right now who I would really disagree with. For instance, if we were talking about migration, who would just shout, we need to stop the boats. But actually, on day one of being elected as leader of the party, I went to Clacton because I wanted to go speak to people that I disagreed with, and I wanted to go hear their opinions. And over again, it only took 5 to 10 minutes of chatting to someone. You find the common ground. It doesn't mean you agree on everything, but very quickly you say, are you happy with what's going on right now? No. We live in the 6th richest, wealthiest country in the world. Do you feel particularly wealthy? No. And then I really remember one man who just said, look at my high street. It's his words, not mine, a shithole. You're not investing in it, and then you want more people to come over here. Now, I think we need to challenge that idea anyway, but until we can get into the shoes of someone else, until we can have that empathic feeling, it's very difficult to have those conversations. And I think storytelling and the arts are the most powerful way I know of people to have a feeling and an emotion of what it is like to be othered, what it is like to be marginalized. And once you've had that feeling and connection, that's when you can start to have the conversation about how to change things. It doesn't change everything, but it begins a conversation. Otherwise, we're just talking in parallel worlds. And it's very, very difficult to connect. And I see that going on and on and on in our politics. And of course, the biggest problem is that the majority of our media is controlled and owned by a tiny, small group of people. A tiny, small group of people who it is their interest to divide us, to distract us, and to make us all think we hate each other. Mm-hmm. That is not the experience I'm having in this room tonight. It's not the experience I had in Gorton and Denton. It's not the experience I have when I knock on doors. The very final thing I want to say, because it's a long answer, but it's important, is when I was in Gorton and Denton the day before the election, a volunteer said to me, they'd knocked on someone's door, and they'd said to them, I'll only vote Green if Zach Palanski himself comes and knocks on my door. So I said, how far away are they? They said 2 minutes. I said, let's do it. Knocked on the door, and they got the story very wrong. This person said, I said I'd vote Green if anyone else was leader of the Green Party other than you. Oh. I hate you. It's literally their words.
Oh my God.
And I said, that's quite strong. Could I ask what it is that you hate? They talked about drugs. They talked about open borders. They talked about a lot of the stuff that GB News pumps out hour by hour. After 10, 15 minutes, can I have a selfie?
Wow.
We just need to talk to people.
Did you hypnotise him? Just be honest.
I walked into that one, didn't I?
Just be honest. I mean, I was joking when I said, can you not just print more money? But if you got in, do you think there is money for these things? Do you think you can find money for these things that we think are so important?
The 50 wealthiest families in this country own more wealth than the bottom 50% of the population.
Right.
To spell that out, that's 50 families versus 34 million people. It is absolutely outrageous. There is plenty of wealth in this country. We have water companies who are pumping sewage into our rivers and charging us extra for the privilege. They've extracted over £13 billion in interest to the shareholders. Meanwhile, there's £23 billion that needs to be spent on bills. Anyway, my point is, we're constantly told there's no money left, but actually there is plenty of money in this country. It's just being siphoned off upwards to the pockets of multimillionaires and billionaires. And this is a long way of saying it is time to tax the rich.
No, Zach. A lot of people see how fun and sexy I am and assume I'm on drugs. But actually I'm not. And actually, I'm actually quite, dare I say, I'm a bit square. I've lost a couple of friends to what we call chemsex incidents. This is, if you're not familiar, it's where young, well, not even young necessarily, but usually gay people are taking drugs like meth or G, often to heighten kind of sex parties, which is why it gets called chemsex parties. And yeah, I lost my hairdresser and a friend. They were in their 30s. And I listened to what Deborah said at the top of the show, and everything you said is accurate and factual and makes sense. But the conversation around drugs, it makes me feel a kind of a way. What would you say to someone like me who is, despite knowing those facts and figures, stumbling a bit on the drugs thing?
Yeah, I hear you. First of all, I'm really sorry. I've had friends lost to the war on drugs as well.
Yeah.
And I think we're not unique, particularly in the LGBTIQA community. And I think there's a whole other set of issues there as well. About struggling with your identity when you're younger that can mean that you are more likely to have problematic relationships with drugs or alcohol. I think the first thing I'd say, and then we're back to the emotion really, because I hear what you're saying about facts and statistics, and really what we're talking about is the human connection and the experience we've had, is we have the highest amount of drug deaths in Europe. So the first thing to say is what we're doing is not working, and so we have to do something else. There's an organisation called Anyone's Child, who is an amazing campaigning organisation that works with children, grandchildren, brothers and sisters who have lost their loved ones to the war on drugs, who are saying we need to change drug laws. And what feels particularly poignant as I mention them is they say every time I've mentioned them on TV, they get hundreds, if not thousands of people contact them and say, I didn't know you existed, I need this. And it just, every time I hear it, makes me realise that as serious as I know this issue is, I don't think we've even scratched the surface. Because I think there are lots of people who lose a loved one to drugs and then don't report it necessarily or don't seek help because they're in that trauma and they're in that experience. So as difficult as it's been having the Labour government attack me on a daily basis, they drove a van around Gorton and Denton with my face on it and Hannah saying we wanted to sell crack in playgrounds. As angry as that makes me, I suppose I weirdly welcome it if it's them provoking a conversation on drugs, and I think it's time to grab hold of that agenda. I think what I'd say is people, when they hear legalized drugs, think that this is about people having them on the street. And actually what's happening right now is people are having them on the street. they're having them down dark alleys, they're having them from drug gangs. And what we're talking about is regulating and controlling drugs. And I think the key bit, and it speaks to the emotive bit, is controlling. Because as soon as I hear that, and I'm someone, by the way, who's never taken a drug, it makes me relax. Because I think I wouldn't want alcohol to be completely unregulated, where people could just drink and not know what was in the alcohol, or they could just get it anywhere. And actually what regulation and control does, in theory, is make sure that if people need help, they can seek help. And when we're talking about drugs for chemsex, this isn't about someone being able to get it in the shop or just be able to get it freely. It would be about making sure that it was pharmaceutical, that a public health expert was making sure they were administering it, and we also knew exactly what was in it. And that also means if someone was really struggling with self-esteem, confidence, or other issues, they could actually get the help they needed. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that would solve issues in the LGBT community, or frankly any community that are driving people to chemsex, or frankly alcohol addiction as well, which I think is equally as serious. And in this country, we rarely talk, or don't talk enough about the dangers of alcohol and what it's doing to people. But what I think it does do is create a more open space where you're being honest about the problems you have, rather than pushing people into an underworld. And the most obvious thing about this whole conversation that frustrates me more than anything is how racialized it is. We have young black kids being stopped on the streets in London 8 times more often than their white counterparts, despite the fact that there is no evidence, literally no evidence, that they are more likely to take drugs. In fact, there's evidence the other way that white middle-class people or very wealthy people are more likely to be taking other drugs. And so I'm not sat here saying I have the entire solution to how to deal with the drugs crisis. What I'm aware of, though, is what we're doing has seen an increase in drug deaths every single year for the past 13 years. So whatever you do, you've got to stop doing that. Then you've got to make sure that public health experts and medical experts then take over, and it's informed in policy, and people who need help can get it.
Thank you. Okay. I feel weirdly calmer for that. Thank you.
You feel weirdly calmer?
I feel calmer.
Good, because that's what this is for. And I want to throw questions over to the audience now. Does anyone have a question for Zach? They'll bring a microphone to you. Ned, are you someone with a microphone?
Are there rules for the questions?
There's lots of people here.
There are rules. There are rules. Okay. This has to be a question, not a statement. No, this is more of a statement, really. No, this is the story of my life. No double questions. This is a two-parter, because we want to get around as many people as we possibly can. Thank you, Stuart. We want to get around as many people as possibly can. So we're going to have, ideally one-line questions, and we're going to get through. And Zach, we're going to do quicker fire. Okay. I love that. But just so we can get through some people. So, Ned, yes.
Hi.
Hello.
Zach. If you're in coalition, what's your bottom line? Because you're going to have to make compromises with whoever you're in coalition with.
Great. What's your bottom line, Zach?
What a wonderful question. It was a question. It had a question mark on the end. Fantastic.
Love that. What's your bottom line? What's your non-negotiables?
So there's 2 things here. The first part is unsatisfying, but it's true. The Green Party is incredibly democratic, so it's 1 member, 1 vote. We all decide the policies and the strategies. That's whether you've been a party member for 20 years, 10 years, or you join the party this evening. That's a subtle hint. That's how you decide the policies. Anyway, the more satisfying answer, I'll pretend that I was totally in charge. I would want to see proportional representation, because it's important that every vote counts. I'd want to see a wealth tax, because it's not the only way of making money happen. We need to invest. There's something called spending multipliers. That means every pound you spend, you get lots more money back. The arts is one of those spending multipliers. And finally, I'd want to see action on the climate crisis. We have an existential threat, both in climate and the nature crisis. Once we lose nature, we lose everything. And actually, we need to make sure we're putting the funding into climate adaptation and protecting nature.
And I've heard you say before, Zach, when you say you're going to tax the rich, you're not talking about people who've worked really hard and they've got a pension fund and they've been lucky, they've probably been privileged to get there, but they've bought a really nice house. You're talking about serious wealth that exists in this country, with both corporations and, as you say, a few families owning half of everything. I wanted to clarify that because I've heard you say it before. And some people hear rich and they go, well, fucking hell, like I've built up this business and I've worked, every hour of every day of every week, and you're going to come and take all my money away. And that's not what you mean, is it?
Yeah, so I think a couple of things there. First of all, I'm talking about assets, so a tax on assets. And people often say, can't the rich just leave? But actually, the Duke of Westminster owns half of Mayfair, and he can't just pick up Mayfair and leave with it. So I'm talking about a 1% tax on assets of £10 billion or more, or 2% on £1 billion or more. And I just don't think...
I don't have anything like that, so I'm all right. I'll be all right.
So I don't think it's realistic that people who have billions and billions of pounds would go, for 1%, I'm going to get up and leave.
Yeah.
And actually, if you're someone who has £1 billion and you don't want to put a tiny amount of it into our National Health Service, into our education systems, into our public services, we should wave you out the door, because actually there's lots of people...
Ned, have we got another question?
Hi, Zach. If someone is listening and feels the nudge to use their voice more in politics or in a political way, what would you wish that they knew how to get over that threshold?
Yeah, so their voice matters, I think, is the number one thing for anyone to know. I think far too often self-doubt holds people back. They think I'm not entirely an expert on this, or... One of the most powerful things I've seen recently was I spoke at a Palestinian solidarity rally, gave a speech... thank you. But the person who gave a much better speech was the person who followed after me, and it was Paloma Faith. And it was the first time that she'd given a speech, I think, at a Palestinian rally. And her speech was this, and I can do it in 20 seconds. She came on stage and she said, standing here tonight, people will tell me might affect my career. And I look them in the eyes and say, there's a genocide. People will tell me that I'm stupid, I'm a pop star, I don't know enough about politics. And I'll look them in the eyes and say, there's a genocide. People will say, this is nuanced, it's complicated, you don't get all of it. I'll look them in the eyes and say it's a genocide. Now, our politics can sometimes be complicated and it can be nuanced. But as I said before, if you know what you stand for, and your interests and beliefs are to protect the most marginalized in society and to protect the planet, the only thing holding you back, I think, is you. I think there is a role for everyone else, including me, to play in giving people confidence, skills, and training. It shouldn't be that people should just leap up. But I would say if anyone is thinking about giving it a go, whether it's front of camera, whether it's behind the camera, there is a role for every single person in this movement, especially people who feel like you don't belong, because we need your voices more than anyone else.
Do we have another question?
Hello. Over here. Hi. I have a question about collaboration specifically. So will the Green Party allow collaboration like dual membership and election target agreements to put us all in the best position possible to fight the far right?
Yeah, so this is where I get dangerously tribal, and then I'll take a step back and calm. But I really believe the Green Party are in a moment right now where we are building such a broad coalition that I think if anyone supports environmental, social, racial, and economic justice, then the very obvious thing to do is join the Green Party. Now, sometimes people say to me, oh, I don't agree on this single policy or that single policy. And I go, great, we don't have to agree on everything. One of my favorite things that Zoran Mamdani said, and I think he was quoting someone else, so this is like a Russian dolls of people quoting each other, is he said, if you agree with me on 7 out of 10 things, great, get involved, join. If you agree with me on 10 out of 10 things, go see a psychiatrist, because that's weird. And I think there's something so strong there. We don't need to agree on everything. So actually, my focus right now is actually on building and growing the party. And if there are policies that people don't agree with, then get involved and change them. Now, there are red lines with that. I don't want anyone to join the party who's misogynistic, racist, homophobic, transphobic, ableist. All of those things are red lines. But if we're talking about, people often quote nuclear power for me, and let's not get into a whole conversation about nuclear power right now. But that's like a conversation we can have and a debate we can have within the party, and I think those debates are healthy. Once we've got to that, if we get to an election and we recognise that there's a need to work together, sure, my door's open. I'm, a pluralist at heart, so I want to work with other people. But right now, this outside general election, we just hit 200,000 members. We've just tripled our poll ratings. I think there's a real energy right now that I don't want to see fractured. And so I recognize there's an element of tribalism to it, but the tribalism is because it's not about my leadership, it's about our collective leadership. And I want to make sure as many people as possible are in the tent.
I hear that. And to be fair, reform are splintering like a toothpick. And I love the fact that this is building. Any other questions? There's someone at the back. There's loads of people. We'll try and do real quick fire
we've got
now.
one here.
Hiya. I was wondering what your thoughts are on what the most effective action we can take on the mounting climate crisis is.
Joining the Green Party. That is my serious answer as well as looking for a cheap laugh. I guess stepping away from the politics of it, though, I think speaking to people who don't connect with the climate crisis in a visceral or emotional way, I think that there's two things there. One, we never want to paralyze people with fear. So I think the way we give information should always be given with sensitivity and nuance. But at the same time, lots of people don't know how bad things are. And this is the crucial decade of action. So I think where people do have the capacity to have the information, talk to them about it. The second bit, though, is we've got to break down this myth that Farage and Reform have been pushing, that tackling the climate crisis is going to be bad for working class people. In fact, it's completely the opposite. Right now, our reliance on oil and gas is awful for working class people. It's leaving our bills spiraling. It's leaving us in climate insecurity. And actually, if we insulated every single home in Britain that needs it, we have some of the leakiest homes in Europe. And all I mean by that is you switch your heating on and it's not working because it's just escaping from the house. If we insulated the homes that need it, and often these are the houses in the poorest communities, that would lower people's bills, vital in a cost of living crisis. It would lower emissions, vital in a climate crisis. And it create hundreds and thousands of good green jobs that could be in the public sector, that could be in trade unions, where people are treated with dignity and care at work. So we could have a triple win. It's waiting. This is low-hanging fruit, and the government absolutely need to do it.
Hey, over here.
We're only allowed to have one more question apparently. But if we do another show like this, will you come back?
Yes.
So maybe next time I'll say, Zach, who do you want to have on? And
it'll be me.
It should be.
Obviously, if we were to do an election tonight, you'd win, I'm pretty sure. In the terrible case that that wouldn't happen, what will you do to use the momentum and the spark that you've built? Like, how do we go on?
Amazing question to end on. I think it's about turning up. I think it's about community organizing. I think it's about speaking to our friends, to our neighbors. I was going to say to strangers, that freaks people out sometimes, but let's get more used to speaking to strangers. And I don't mean preaching or lecturing at them, but actually connecting in our communities. Connecting. Loneliness in itself is a real huge issue in our society. And one of the things I love about the job that I do, and I love about being in the Green Party, is I'm not going to sit here and pretend that it's not about getting people elected. But actually the act of getting people elected, the act of going door to door, the act of turning up in churches, synagogues, mosques, non-faith spaces, the act of speaking to people on the streets, that's worth it in and of itself. Because we live in such a fractured society that has been designed to be fractured by the super rich, by the media, by the corporations. And actually the strongest power we have is people power. So if you were going to take anything away tonight, and I talk a lot about this on my, this is meta, on my own podcast, Bold Politics. I'll make sure to shout out Guilty Feminist on Bold Politics. We can do the swap. But actually one of the things I love about that podcast is I've had lots of experts on it, but recently I've had workers on it too, or people who are experts in their own lived experience. Because I think when we recognize that every single human being we talk to is unique, every single person, and we are that unique person. If we're not bringing ourselves to the table, if we're not putting ourselves for election or putting ourselves, you don't have to all get elected, but if you're not putting yourselves forward with your contribution, you're denying your uniqueness to the world. And actually, I think the most powerful thing we can do is actually love ourselves, love the people around us, and love the people we disagree with. And that's the tough bit. I'm not saying for a second if you're a marginalized person, you have to love your aggressor. It's for those of us who have the allyship to be able to do that. And if you can do it, that's bloody powerful. But ultimately, we stand so much better when we stand united. That's how we're going to change London. It's how we're going to change our country. And I really believe together it's how we're going to change the world. Thank you very much.
Zach Palanski, everybody! Juno Dawson!
It's like Princess Leia said, it's hope. It's hope.
It really is hope. This has been a really, really, really special night. And I just want to say, if you are looking for a place in the fight, then join the Green Party. And also, we are doing lots more Road to Gilead shows. You go to guiltyfeminist.com, you'll see them all. We're doing a big one at the Leicester Square Theatre with The Nerve, who are an amazing outfit, people who left The Guardian when they sold The Observer. They're really incredible. And we're going to do a co-show with them on the 30th April at Leicester Square. Come along to that, but there's lots of other shows in smaller venues, places, and we're going to have more open space days where we can get together and come up with ideas for how to actually shift the dial. If you want to know about that, go to guiltyfeminist.com, join the mailing list. Anytime there's Road to Gilead, you just open the email and go, okay, yeah, I'll be involved in that. I've seen a massive shift. I was walking home in Camden the other night, and I was flyered for the far right, for the march against the far right by 15-year-olds. I've lived in Camden 20 years, never have I seen 15-year-olds out at night flyering to ask me to march with them. I find that's very, very moving. Something is changing and we are part of it. Do not lose momentum. Do not fall into this thing of, oh, when we're going to get in. No, they're fucking not. But I say this and it's important. We could lose, and if we do, on day one, we are going to need an incredibly well-organized, connected, energized resistance. Nothing you do in the next 3.5 years will be wasted. But I don't believe we are going to lose. I think we are going to win if we keep this up. And to end the show, please, can I welcome back Singing Resistance London!
I believe that one fine day, I believe that one fine day, the power of love will rise above the love of power. I believe that one fine day.
This is very easy.
I believe that
very
one
few
fine
words.
day.
So you should have to join in with us.
Of love will rise above the love of power.
I believe that one fine day.
I believe that one fine day.
Then exactly the same again.
I believe that one fine day.
The power of love.
The power of love
will rise above.
Will rise above
the love of
power.
Let's try it together.
I believe that one fine day. I believe that one fine day, the power of love will rise above the love of power.
Here's where it gets fun. Keep going.
I believe.
You've sung in 4 parts before, so you can sing in 4 parts again. We'll go to the same groups. You lot are mine. You lot belong to Hallie and Lizzy. You belong to Fran. And you belong to Brian. Come to Singing Resistance London, 20th of March. We're Together Alliance. Thank you. Here we go. Part 1. I believe that one fine day. I believe that one fine day.
I believe that one fine day. I believe that one fine day. The power fine day. I believe that one fine day, the power of love will rise above will rise above. I believe that one fine day. I believe that one fine day, the power of love will rise above the love of rise above the love of I believe that one fine day. I believe that one fine day.
Harmonise if you like.
I believe that one fine day. 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 I believe that one fine day.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you.
See you in the march, if not before the show.